Hey y'all, it is the 2nd of May, 2023. We don't have a whole lot. There's a lot of things coming, but not a lot of things to really talk about here. We are migrating the ops handbook over to the new handbook. I wanted to get the nuances of what all that takes so I can make an issue for support to kind of be like, okay, here's all the things I noticed. So we are in the process of that. We've got the fun MR. Lyle's looked that over. Now the handbook team is looking it over. But once that gets merged, then we'll enter phase 2, which is doing a whole bunch of redirects, or if I'm lucky, one redirect. I've never done redirects in the old handbook, so I don't know. But redirecting basically all the old ops links to the new ops handbook. It's organized considerably different than our new one just because it got messy, and I figured, well, while I'm at it. So look for an announcement in the future when we're actually fully migrated over to that. There's not a lot of new information in it. It's just I moved a lot of the stuff to more efficient locations instead of having one documentation folder with 20, 30, 40 files. It's organized a little better to what the documentation's about. So look for announcements to that in the future. I don't have anything to really present you yet because it's not merged, so can't really show you, but look for announcements in the future and we'll go from there. But any questions on that topic? Cool.
Yeah, I have a question. Jason, is it external or is it internal?
It's still external.
Like it's customer facing. It's still internal. Cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
there is a company-wide initiative to move from the current handbook location to handbook.gitlab.com, which is using a bit of a different processor, and it's a little cleaner and a little easier to maintain. So that's the general sense of that. But it's still going to be external. It's still going to be public. Anyone can still see it. Anything that would not warrant being public or something that we can't put public, we would obviously put in the internal handbook. But to date, I don't think we've actually encountered any of that in ops land. It's not to say we won't. We haven't. So cross fingers, we can continue that level of transparency.
The only confusing thing is they look very similar. So if you're in the internal handbook and you like, I suspect that feedback will pop up pretty quickly. But
yeah,
maybe we can suggest like flashing lights at the top, like a la GeoCities in the 90s.
Hey, you laugh, but I needed a neon sign to find a comment today, so maybe that's a good idea.
At least like invert the colors or something. Although that who knows? We'll let
make it dark mode by default so you can get really confused.
I mean, that was how I did my admin. My admin account on .com, light, red bar, normal, dark mode.
Yep. I
adjusted none of my admin settings when I had an admin account. So when I logged in, I'd immediately go, ugh, what did I do to this? And then I'd realize, oh yeah, wrong account.
I do that for staging and billing page, the customer dot. They are they look really similar with each other. So rather than checking out the web URL every time, one is dark and one is light. So I know the dark is the staging and light is the normal billing.
Awesome. Okay. The other thing is Lyle and I are going to be working on proposing a new change management method for PagerDuty. More details to come. I think Nabil spotted the issue. Right now, it's just an issue where I pasted a bunch of stuff that we're working on. So we're not at the next stages yet. The next stages would be, we're happy with how this looks. We go talk and get feedback from managers. And then from there, kind of undergo the change process of propose it, implement it, start using it. I think it'll ultimately make it easier on everyone involved. They're taking a lot of the PagerDuty-ness out of the actual process until the very end when we make the changes. I think that'll make it easier for everybody else. I kind of adopted what Lyle did way back when for a mayor and said, yeah, that'll work. But I'll go over all of that should we get to the point where we're going to implement it, and then I'll explain how it works, how to do every little step and all that fun stuff. Cool. And I forgot to add this. I'm also working on proposing a different style of change management for, let's call it 90% of our other stuff. I don't think it's a flat 90%, but I don't want to do math. But essentially what it will be doing is using a lot more automation to do our deployments. So the theory would be we'll be doing set deployment dates and basically a lot like how GitLab handles their packages on the 22nd every month. We'd probably be doing it on the 1st for the sake of metrics. But essentially you do what you would normally do, merge it into the master branch and all that stuff. It just would not actually deploy into production, whatever it was, until our deployment date. In theory, this will make things with reversion a little easier. I talked a lot with distribution and packaging to figure out how they did all this magic. A lot of magic with tags and scripts and automations. The one thing they had to do that I didn't like is somebody has to log in on the 22nd and run a Slack command, and I don't want to do that. I'd rather have the scripts do that stuff for us and post horrendous messages into our support channel if something goes wrong. But that's also something that I am working on. It is not yet at the stage where we're at that thing, but I think that's kind of also doing what we're doing with PagerDuty of I'm working on it with Lyle. We're going to get happy with it, get feedback from managers, and then we'll go into a propose, implement, I'll explain everything stage. But in theory, it shouldn't change anything. It shouldn't change much of your current processes other than I've merged into master. What happens next? Well, it'll deploy on the 1st. But there's a lot of little tag magicry. When I kind of go over that, I'll explain how the script is doing all this magic stuff. Now, obviously, not everything will be automated. Words. Not everything will be able to be automated. There are some things we wouldn't want to, like macros. We really don't need a set deployment date for macros. Just go ahead and sync them. They're fine. Changes to the support team data files. Just do it. It's fine. Doesn't matter. So some things will just be the same process we currently use, but I'll make sure in our change management doc when we get there to detail these are the things that deploy differently and everything else follows the standard change deployment. But again, I'll go into more details when we get to that stage. I don't want to go too far into the weeds because we haven't gotten feedback yet. Things could change. Any questions on that? Cool.
The first
Other than
deployment
that,
and something breaks.
yeah. I'm gonna hope the first deployment's not like on a Saturday because that would be terrible, but we'll see. I think we're tentatively aiming to have this go live the start of next fiscal or next quarter, but best laid plans, so we'll see. Yeah, so that's kind of some of the bigger things coming. Again, I know a lot of it was it's coming, but I have no details yet. I'm using the George R.R. Martin strategy of I'm promising things that you don't know yet. They'll come eventually, maybe.
I have a question that is related with notification app testing. Do we have any tentative date so I can deliver it to our team out there? Like half of my team is done, half of my team is not done yet. So do we have any target date for that to be completed, or is it fine?
At the latest, I want it done by the end of the month. Obviously, the sooner all the testing is done, the sooner we can review results and move to the next stages. Yeah. I don't want it to sit in the limbo of testing for too long, but I also wanted to allow ample room for testing, considering last I counted, it was like 2,400 tests. Right. So it's a little excessive, but I wanted to be thorough. So aim for end of month, but definitely encourage if it gets done sooner, awesome. Right. Because basically once all the testing's done, y'all are going to compile all the failures and get them to me, and I'm going to look over them, and then we'll figure out next steps from there. I'd like to hope there won't be any, but there is no way we did this. I did this perfectly the first time.
Yeah. I'm telling you in advance, there are some.
Yeah.
That's
There are
probably the
some-
case. It is complex logic, and there's no way I got it right on the first try.
Yeah,
The
there are
testing
some.
I
Yes.
did not fail,
Yeah.
but I also didn't do 2,400 tests. So that's why we do testing, to find these issues before we go live. And I know I've seen some questions about it. Just a reminder, it will be opt-in, meaning by default, it will be turned off. You will not get notifications when this goes live. If you want them, you have to go into your profile and say you want them.
Are we changing the
Okay.
sound? I hate that notification sound, to be honest.
Really.
We'll see. We'll see.
Well, no,
I will
that's
say this. Every
It's just
feedback
great.
I've gotten on that noise is it's piercing and very noticeable. I'm like, that's what a notification sound should do. Be very noticeable.
Okay, yeah, I love it, but not to be like a siren though. you have broken the PC or
Well,
something like that.
we'll probably have a thing about that closer to when it actually is done with testing. For now, like everybody's giving me feedback on the noise. I'm like, just table it for now. Go turn it off if it bothers you that bad. But we will have a greater discussion to help pick that out.
Mhm.
I will say this: I talked to 10 people, and that was the most picked sound
yeah,
Okay.
but being one of
for the
those,
exact reason of it's piercing and noticeable. And I was like, yes, it is.
being
A
one of
ding
those
will do.
people, there was a lot of similar sounds.
Yeah, it's like whenever I'm testing it, if I'm answering a question or anything, to be honest, if you are wearing headphones, you are gone, man. Seriously, it's like, yeah, it will. You have to throw them out. It scares you. Seriously, it scares you. I'm
But
not
what you're
even
saying is
scared
you
by
saw
that.
the notification.
Yeah. I saw the notifications and everything is
need-
going on.
We don't want folks to be scared of customer replies, though. Like
Oh,
developing like these
yeah. It
negative neural
scares you.
pathways where it's like, no,
Have you
no
seen
customers.
Have you seen the
I
logic
don't know.
tree? It's not just customer replies that can send a notification loud.
Oh, true. It's just anybody who can comment as well. Oh
Okay, so
my
we're-
God,
we're-
that kills you.
Just
I-
negative neural pathways for everyone, for anything having to do
Everyone.
with tickets.
Yeah.
I have a bar stool chair. I jumped out of my chair. I was not
Yes.
expecting it when it hit, and I jumped out of my chair. I was
The first time, to
I,
be honest, first time I thought that I shattered something up. The glass broke or something over there. I was like, what the hell happened?
No, I have gotten feedback that a lot of people who are doing the testing do not like the noise. My current response is, it's a placeholder.
Yep.
Like I needed a noise. I asked 10 people. That was the most voted one, and I went, okay. I don't like the noise either, but we will
can
end up
move it
doing
to
a
ding.
thing of
Small thing.
asking people of, hey, so here's 3 different noises. Pick one. But ultimately, if you really don't like the noise, you can turn off the sound.
Yeah, mute it. That's what I did.
You don't even have to mute your browser. There's an option on your profile where it's like, don't play the sound.
yeah.
There's eventual iterations of letting you select the sound or something like that. So there's
Mhm.
eventual things where you will have the ability to, do that. But first iteration, I didn't want to get too into the weeds of, let's have people select a sound so that there's actually 5 different or 20 or 30 or whatever. But we'll get to a point where
Oh, you have a
we'll allow
library.
people to, we'll
Yeah.
have a library of sounds that they can pick from. The trickiest part of there would be, how do I hear it? And my response would be, just go to the URL and listen to them. I don't know. We'll figure that out. Future iteration, you don't need to get too far into the weeds on it. But yeah, no, I have heard the feedback that the noise is not liked.
I
But I
would
will
love to have.
say 100% of people who complained also admitted they saw the notification. Yay.
That's how the sound was played.
Lyle, have you not heard the sound yet?
I feel like you showed it to me, but I don't.
It's a love-hate relationship.
I will say Lyle was one person I asked, and he did not vote for that sound.
I honestly
Oh.
don't remember what is it.
Sci-fi alert, something. It's a website that
No,
No, it's not sci-fi. It's
Yeah,
not sci-fi at all.
the website that I found is like free, open source to use, follows all the licensing rules, like we're allowed to use it without blah 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 blah.
If-
Follows all those legal checkboxes. So Of the
It's not
noises they
open
had, I
source.
picked 10 that I
Mhm.
thought were okay, and that one got the most votes.
It
Not
was
by much, but it did.
it was the less screechy of the ones that I was shown.
No, but what I'll end up doing is before we go live, going like, all right, look, we need one sound. I understand everybody's not going to love the sound, but you can turn it off. But yeah, we'll address that when we get to it. Let's finish testing first, and if the sound is that disruptive, you can turn it off in your profile. And I would
Hey, if you
recommend
could,
doing so. I definitely turned off the sound.
if we could buy a, if we could buy a sound, how about AC/DC's Thunder's starting rig?
There's so much legal loop to loop stuff about doing that because
If we could buy, if we could buy
GitLab,
the
the company,
copyright,
would
yeah.
have to pay for the rights to use the song
Right.
and blah 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 blah. And at a certain point, I'm just gonna like my response is no, because if we're gonna pick a song, I'm gonna do like heavy metal,
Heavy metal.
do some doom metal, so you get like the funeral bells. But yeah, no, we'll address the noise feedback before this actually goes live. I'll probably discuss with Lyle how best to do that because I don't just want to do an open vote system. What that does is let rule go to the majority. I think it might be, I don't know. I think it may be limited to the testers get to have the say in it since they have dealt with the noise the most, and we'll iterate from there. I don't know. We'll figure it out. That's getting ahead of ourselves. Let's finish testing first. Cool. Any other questions, comments, feedbacks, concerns? Cool. Well, then I will let y'all have the rest of your day back. Thanks for attending. Thanks for the participation. Good seeing all of y'all. Keep doing the great work out there.